This video is about my seed starting fails of this year, but I'm not just going to focus on the fails, obviously, because there's so many successes, and every gardener is going to go through failures and successes, and the most important thing to make you keep going is to focus on the positives. Before I start talking about all of my fails from this year, just the things that didn't work out as I'd hoped, I have to pot up some peppers. If you recall, I did a soil test with these peppers for seed starting and potting up. I tested some different mixes. I wanted to try to pare down the ingredients that I used in my seed starting mix. So I tried some without COCO COIR or PEAT. I don't use PEAT. And sadly, the ones that I started in a mix of wool pellets did not thrive at all. One is completely dead. I mean, look at the comparison. Same pepper seeds, started at the same time. In fact, I think King of the North. Okay, so these are the same variety, sown at the same time, same conditions completely. This soil mix is the COCO COIR and worm castings, perlite and vermiculite, and then this one is the worm castings and sheep's wool pellets in lieu of the COCO COIR or peat moss. And when I potted these up, I even soaked the sheep wool pellets so that they'd be nice and fluffy and loose. It didn't work out for me, and I don't know why. This is no hate on sheep's wool pellets because I think that they're great fertilizers for the garden. But for seed starting, they just didn't give my peppers what they needed. I have to work kind of quickly because these are not at all hardened off. Like, we've had freezing cold days. We had snow last night, but it's 17 degrees Celsius today. And so I'm out here doing this because I want to be outside. But these are not hardened off. It is not time yet. So I'm not going to leave them out in the sun for very long. I better get moving on potting these up. And because I've done this trial to this point now, I'm not going to try other trials. All right, so I have COCO COIR here. At this point in the game, I'm just eyeballing things, but I'm doing maybe 20% thereabouts of worm castings, perlite. Whoop, that was way more than I meant to do. Got away from me there. I'm all out of vermiculite, unfortunately. So perhaps I'm going to overcompensate with all of this perlite. Oh my goodness, this is ridiculous. Okay, this is kind of cool. I hadn't actually looked through all these before I brought them out here to see which soil mix was which. The winner here is actually a tie on average. I mean, I'm not like counting roots or measuring. It's not, I don't have enough plants to make an actual sample to tell you any statistics on which one is better. But visually speaking, anecdotally speaking, Mix 1 and Mix 3 are tied for performance on these peppers. So Mix 1 was COCO COIR, vermiculite, perlite, and worm castings. Mix 3 was just worm castings and perlite, cutting out the COCO COIR, which is what I wondered if we could do. I wanted to get rid of all of the imports, or as many as we could at least. And like perlite and vermiculite, while they are mined, they are less harmful to the environment, you know, subjectively speaking, I guess, than peat extraction and peat use, and also than COCO COIR, which is shipped from a long way and uses a lot of water in its processing. So very interestingly, like, can you even tell? This one is even taller. And we'll have a look at the roots in a second. But like, this is Mix 1, and this is Mix 3, which is new for me this year, just worm castings and perlite. And I would have used worm castings and vermiculite, but I ran out of vermiculite. Perlite functions in somewhat the same way. This poor little guy here is just worm castings. So I think, you know, to me, the obvious reason would be that there isn't enough air in this soil. There's not enough air pockets, air channels for the roots to go down, for the roots to really develop. So let's do this guy next, actually. It's a little jalapeno, sweet pepper. I can tell there's no root structure in here at all. So it's interesting that the perlite made that much of a difference. There's just some sloppy roots in there. But we're going to salvage him. Oh, my pot blew away. Give them a second chance at life. I can even get it in here. It's so sloppy. This is pretty exciting to me that soil mix 1 and 3 appear to be performing equally well. Now I'm using up my COCO COIR in this mix that I have right now because why not? If I don't need to use it in the future, that would be great. But I'm cautiously optimistic. This is not a real trial. It's a pseudo trial. I'm going to get 2 pots ready, and then we will compare soil mix 1 and soil mix 3 side by side for root growth. Okay, mix 1. This is a red cayenne. Of course, they are different varieties, these two. I probably could have done a better comparison where they're the same variety, but can I still, or have I potted them all up? No, I don't have any left of these. I've already potted them all up. That's okay. It'll be interesting regardless. Big root system. Now over here we have seeds I saved from Costco banana peppers. I've been saving these every year. They're amazing, amazing sweet banana peppers. All right, so this is mix 3, which is just worm castings and perlite. This is mix 1, which is COCO COIR, worm castings, perlite, and vermiculite. I am pretty sure this has a lot more roots. Now, it could be also that, you know, sweet peppers may grow a little bit faster than hot peppers, but I actually have found that these cayennes are super growers, so I don't know. You know, my mom always says she's Dutch, and she uses that as her excuse for never being able to kill a seedling. So when she sows a bunch of tomato seeds, she just separates them out and keeps them all. And I mean, every freaking spider plant baby she seems to pot up and keep. And she says, it's because I'm Dutch. Well, I'm also Dutch. And I really don't have that big of a problem discarding seedlings that I don't need or that aren't healthy. Yeah. I don't have that big of a problem. And this is mostly just pure worm castings. Yeah, pure worm castings. So I'm just going to add it to this mix. Perfect. Now I have some pots to pot out my tomatoes and things. Here are the pepper babies. Poor little windswept, not hardened off pepper babies. I'm going to bring them back inside now that they're all potted up. Now let's talk about this year's fails. I have been starting seeds for well over a decade, and every year there's something new that I learn. There's some new challenge that I have to overcome. This year, an old challenge resurfaced, and that was fungus gnats. Now, I know what I did wrong there. I did not sterilize my potting mix that I brought home from the store. It was January. I didn't have the energy or the shits to give to sterilize it. I just wanted to get a few seeds started. And when I opened that bag of potting mix, a fungus gnat flew out. I should have done better. And I'll probably say this every year, but I didn't sterilize that one bag, and now I have fungus gnats. I also have dozens of houseplants that will harbor the fungus gnats. So, you know, it's a challenge I think I'll always be battling. But the lesson that I learned this year was that mosquito dunks really can help to curb your fungus gnat infestation. My friend Sarah told me about this from the Sunny Hill Homestead, and I just put a mosquito dunk into my watering can, let it sit overnight, and then watered all my seedlings with it. I've done 2, maybe 3 treatments with it so far, and definitely the population of fungus gnats has gone down. I'm still using my little yellow sticky traps, which are still covered in adults, but there's much less fungus gnat activity as long as I stay on top of that watering with the mosquito dunks. That just releases a bacteria into your soil that will eat the fungus gnat larvae, just like they would eat mosquito larvae. Another fail this year / lesson learned is that eucalyptus is very sensitive to insecticidal soap. I sprayed all of my plants with insecticidal soap trying to get those adult fungus gnats, and my eucalyptus started dying. Wonder if I can find... I mean, this one at least was growing, but the leaves went brown and crispy, and the new growth now is fine. Like, I lost a fair number of eucalyptus plants, and some of them just completely failed to grow. Like, these were sown in, well, I guess February. So I had a big germination issue with the eucalyptus as well. Of the 4 20 packs that I sowed, like 20 seeds per pack, I got maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I got 19 eucalyptus plants to survive, and I'm not sure they are actually all going to continue to survive. So lesson learned, certain plant leaves are a lot more sensitive to insecticidal soap. There's an oil in insecticidal soap. It's just oil and soap and water, and the oil binds the soap to the gnats, to the flies. And I guess that oil can burn the leaves if they're sensitive. I think when you put an oil on a plant and then there's light on it, that light is more likely to burn the leaves, so maybe that's what happened. Okay, this next one is kind of weird. I have edema in my sweet potatoes. I have had edema in my sweet potatoes for the last 3 years that I have tried starting them, and let me show you what I mean. Little white blisters all over the sweet potato leaves. Now these are slips that I've broken off of the mother potato, and they're rooted and they're now potted up. All of them have it. All of them. Even the ones growing out of the potato in the soil. Like, it's the weirdest thing. I had never experienced this in probably 10 years of starting sweet potato slips, and now in the last 3 years, I'm having this issue. Edema is, I believe, a sign that the plant is not managing its water intake properly, so it's releasing some of that through these like blisters on its leaves. Super weird. I've asked master gardeners about this in the past couple of years, and there's no definitive answer as to why this is happening. The only thing that's changed for me in the last 3 years are my grow lights. Like, is there something weird about that wavelength? I don't know. It's still a mystery. So I would say my sweet potatoes are close to a fail. Although I will say they always pull through. I still have sweet potatoes to plant and when it's warm out. So not a full fail, but like a weird mystery I just can't solve, and it's making those seedlings look kind of yucky. Okay, another fail is my brassica seedlings. This is something that is a calculated risk I take every spring. I like to push my boundaries, extend my season as much as possible. So I plant things out when I know there's a risk that they could get killed by a cold snap. And brassicas will survive, like broccolis, cauliflowers, kales, that kind of thing. They will survive pretty cold temperatures when they're established plants, like well below freezing. But when they're baby little seedlings, they are a little bit more tender, obviously, and if they're not fully established yet, their roots aren't established, then they can't handle huge temperature swings. And I planted them out a couple days before we had a minus 12 degrees Celsius night, and they died. They struggled for a few days, and then they just gave in. And honestly, I would have pulled them out anyway, I think, because once a brassica like that is exposed, once a heading brassica, like a broccoli or cauliflower, is exposed to really dramatic temperature swings that clearly damages it, there's a chance that it might not form a head at the end of its life anyway. And so what's the point of keeping it in my garden if I want a cauliflower head, right? But I start extra brassicas so that when that happens, in the years where we get a cold snap when I'm not expecting it, I can just replant. I've got more under my lights inside. Now, the other challenge with my brassicas is that I started them in tiny little pots that I know I should not use. I will show you. I started them in these little pots, little 6-cell packs. These are too small for me because I don't water often enough. And so as soon as the plant starts to get big enough that the roots fill this space, it can use up all this water easily in one day, and I don't water every day, and so I killed a couple of these worth of brassicas that were my replacement brassicas because I just didn't stay on top of watering. And then I potted them up to try to save their lives. And where's this one? They didn't like it. It stunted them because they were already struggling, and then I put them into this soil. It's a complicated dance of small pot versus big pot and like when they should be potted up. If they're in a really tiny space like this and the roots are fully developed, they can use all the water in this really, really quickly, and then they end up going through extremes of being really dry and really wet. If you put a small little seedling in a pot that's too big for it, there's too much soil for the roots to absorb water out of quickly. And what that means is the roots just end up sitting in really wet soil for a really long time, because it takes a long time for the soil to just dry out of its own accord if there aren't roots sucking that moisture out of it. So it's a bit of a dance, and I've learned my lesson. I'm not using these next year unless it's a really slow growing little seedling. And then for brassicas, I might even try soil blocking them next year. We'll see. I still have enough. Like, I sowed 2 trays of brassica seeds, knowing that I like to push boundaries and that sometimes they will die, but you have backups just in case. And some of them are okay. You know, this is a Romanesco cauliflower. It's ready to go out in the garden. Actually, I might do that tonight. And then I just had a couple little seed fails. One is I didn't realize I was out of celery seed until I went to plant it. And then I ordered some, and then it got lost in the mail. The company was really, really great, though. They sent a replacement package with no proof that it was lost. But, you know, I had waited a month for it, and I thought, okay, there's something wrong. I need to get my celery seeds in the ground. So it was Eco Seed Bank. I found them on Etsy, and they sent me a replacement package with some, like, free seeds as a thank you and a sorry, and it was wonderful customer service. So I now have my celery sowed. It's just going to be a little bit later this year. That's fine. I mentioned in an earlier video that I want my celery for soups and stews this year. When you're planting things, you always have to think about how you're going to use them. And although I realized too late that I forgot about veggie trays, that I like to have celery for veggie trays, whatever. I will have these for soups and stews in fall because that's when they will be ready to harvest. And then my leeks were the other seed fail. I had old leek seeds. Like, this package was probably 7 or 8 years old. And I sowed them and then waited a month and nothing happened. I waited too long. I should have just known they were too old. So then I had to get new leek seeds, which is fine. They've already come up. Just note, allium seeds, like onions and leeks, they tend to age faster. They have a shorter shelf life. There are lots of seeds out there that you can keep for decades, but alliums are not one of those. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit more potting up, and then I better get these babies back inside because half of these trays are not at all hardened off yet, and I don't want another garden fail.